If you don't want to do God's will, nothing happens. None of the other components can come into play.
And the second was understanding. And you kind of mentioned it like sensing what God wants of me. So if you have this desire, and then it's okay, you're going to get some kind of response because God says, seek my will here. I will give you a response. You see me all the time, language like that. And so you're saying, God, give me an understanding here. And that understanding comes to us in different ways, but it is a sort of sense of, yeah, this is the right road to go down. This is the right direction, or maybe I got to make a course adjustment. So it's a desire to do the will, but also a desire to understand the
Yeah,
will.
you need to get some, okay, you can be sitting there wanting to do what God wants of you, but you have no idea what God wants of you. And you can run and grab a pamphlet that will tell you, somebody, 10 things God wants you. Various churches and other movements put out documents like that or preachments like that. Uh, but is that what God wants of you? This is more intimate and personal. It's not what God wants of other people or people in general or some generic question. What does God want of you? And it might be something very simple. God wanted me to write this whole book and everything, but most of our lives are lived in a much closer proximity just to the other people around us, to our particular roles. You're a parent, you're a husband, you have colleagues at work, you have customers at your business, and so on. And it may just be doing right by all of those people and living up to your responsibilities, doing them as best you can, uh, whatever they are. Just the best husband, the best parent, the best uh, waitress, whatever it is, where you can help other people and live up. It's not just other people, you're also living out your best, being your personal best, as they say in athletic contest. You're trying to make the most of yourself, be all you can be, not all in some generic way, but in terms of your own life, fulfill it, fill it totally. And I always emphasize that word. I use the word sensing. I had the rare experience of God's talking to me in a voice. Well, he wanted me to write a book, so that made a lot of sense. Excuse me, I say him. God is, of course, neither male nor female merely, but God wanted me to write a book. And so talking to me was a really effective way to getting me to do that. And it sort of fit my temperament and so forth. Okay, I can follow words and have questions and can ask God things. But for most of us, you don't need to hear a voice. And one of the lessons, as people would, some of the people write in, you weren't even a believer, and yet God spoke to you. And I just pray and pray and pray and want God to speak to me. And I always tell them, relax, relax, relax. I was talking to Jonathan Wiedenbaum in a Life Wisdom episode about this just yesterday as we were recording it, that I tell people, relax and let God come to you however God comes to you. And that's why you and I, Scott, often talk about spiritual discernment. You have to be paying attention. You got to be looking around. You got to be open to something having a kind of divine element or urge or opening. And it can just be a friend comes saying, oh, I need this help. Can you give it? And maybe that's a God sent task, you might say. God put that person on your doorstep so that you could help them. And it can come all kinds of ways. It can come an epiphany while you're listening to music. This is what's important in life, or this is something I need to do. And so it's very personal, intimate, um, situational in your life, to your even temperament and personality and your particular gifts and lack of gifts, assets and debits. Uh, but pay attention and then take it in. Don't have a closed heart, have an open heart, have an open mind, and don't dismiss what seems to be coming to you. You have to ponder it and so forth. That's the discernment part. You have to say, oh, is this a task God has put in front of me for me to do? And you ponder it and see, yes, I think it is. Or no, maybe not. It's really just something that happened that came along in life, because there's that too. There are coincidences and just events, but you pay attention, and you can, what one notices is if you practice connecting with the divine and being open, you kind of get better at it. As I had to go through when God's speaking to me just in my mind, discerning God's voice from my voice. Well, it seemed pretty clear from the beginning. They're really quite different, but sometimes I would have to pause, and have I just started thinking on my own and left God behind? So I would stop and pray and try to get connected clearly again. But anyway, whatever comes to a given person, you practice it, you make judgments as best you can. There's no infallibility here, no certainty, but you do them as best you can, and then you kind of find out, well, I thought that was God and I did it. And my experience, and the experience of an awful lot of people who live this way, is, yeah, it usually does work out. It usually turns out right.